Hey everybody, welcome to another Edgy live stream Wednesday night. Glad to join you and have you aboard. And again, just kind of chill tonight. Not gonna lie, we're just kind of getting ready for the holidays a little bit, but thought we'd get together for an hour and BS and just talk some sports. Unfortunately, Coach Joe, MIA, not available tonight. He is on special assignment, but we hope to have him join us again sometime next week or the week after. We haven't figured out our schedule for next week, but I'm sure we will get that squared away soon enough. So, again, thanks for watching. If you're watching off of YouTube, welcome aboard. If you're catching us on Periscope on Twitter, welcome. And also everyone on Facebook Live as well watching it. We'll be here for the next hour or so, just breaking down, certainly talking the latest of what's going on or what's not going on in high schools. Certainly our focus has always been high school football, but we will talk other high school sports as well. There's been another new lawsuit filed. We'll dive into that a little bit. And we're also going to go around some other sports as well. Got to talk some Bears, and we certainly have to talk to our guests tonight as well. So we are going to move things forward. By the way, if you want to be a part of the show, you're always welcome. If you find that little text box feature, you can literally submit a question. And if we like your question, we'll throw it right up there on the screen. Hello, Chris. Hello, Christy. What's good? Hey, glad you can take time to join us, and glad to have you on board. And without further ado, I am going to bring in my guest, certainly one of the co-hosts of this show every week, the one, the only, the velvet-voiced Dave Dwyer, and also joining us, State Farm agent extraordinaire, Dewey. He's gotten so large, he has a team now. I don't mean physically, in the business world. He has his own team, of course, the one, the only. You know him. You love him. Maybe you've had one of his free wieners. I don't know. The one, the only, Kevin Molloy. Hello, sir.
How are you? And yeah, physically as well, Edgy. Physically as well.
Well, it is. It is a corona pandemic, and wow.
I love the market. So next January 3rd, we're going to launch the Body by Hostess diet. So.
Yeah, you hit me with that one earlier. Pretty good. I like that one. God, when was the last time I've seen you? It's been a while.
Maybe a year. Yeah. Maybe at the award ceremony, right?
That's probably No, I think I came in Super Bowl.
Okay.
I bought Super Bowl square.
Yes.
Someone we know.
No, not from me, because I would never sell Super Bowl squares, but there might have been Super Bowl squares somewhere in the neighborhood.
So. Somewhere. That's an interesting neighborhood your business is located.
Okay. Yes, and Skokie. You're up in Skokie by another agent's office buying Super Bowl.
I am. But first of all, glad you can join us. Like I said, just hadn't talked to you for a while, and glad you could hop aboard. The first question we ask everyone when they come on board, and I'm sure Dewey's got a few things for you as well, but I mean, a lot has changed in a year plus, and I mean, you're still here. You found a way to survive challenges of the pandemic from your even from the insurance, your personal side and your agency side as well. It's been a lot. So you're still here. How'd you make it happen?
Yeah, you know what? You have to constantly evolve to begin with, but we truly had to reinvent the wheel because we shut down in March to people coming inside the office for the necessary safety protocol. State shut down all throughout the summer when things were still a little bit erratic. Maybe opened up for people coming in for about 3 weeks, and then back in September, shut down again to this day. So we're doing everything, phone, texting, emails, and truth is we had our best year ever, and I mean ever, out of 36 years.
How do you, how do you equate that? I mean, it's a pandemic. There's millions of people lost jobs and were furloughed. And I mean, I just got to imagine you had to deal with a lot. You mentioned a wide array, and I'm sure you and your staff had a wide array of issues and questions and everything else. So how'd you manage?
Well, we also had to be sensitive to the team, and I think of them as family. So I've had some that had to do the e-learning and stay home because they have second and fourth graders and whatnot. So it was a hodgepodge of who can come in, that next man up mentality, if you would, in the business world. It's who can come in today. And I had Tracy and Jenny, the customer service people. They were there every day. And whoever could come in to fill the bill with the sales part of it came in. And I didn't have expectations. I was fortunate to keep them all on the payroll. But I probably, as you know, I get in the office about 5:30 and I leave about 6 o'clock. And I tried something different in April, and we're going to do it the rest of my career. We do, instead of face-to-face reviews, I'm doing 30 electronic reviews. I print up everybody's policies, make notes on some things that they might not need, should think about, and we email them. And I do now have my own Jake from State Farm, Jacob Robeson. So I have my very own Jake, and he does have khakis and he does have a polo. So he scans them over. Next day follows up with a phone call to make sure they got it and opened it. And we just sit back. We don't ask for business. The folks will reach out to us if they want to do anything. Incoming calls, that's all Kim, Irene, and Melissa, and they do a great job. But so that was a long answer, Edgy, but I mean, we reinvented the wheel.
Yeah.
We reinvented the wheel, and it just was a blessing, and we're going to keep that same model for the rest of my career.
Kevin, I think one of the things that might have helped you is with your reputation and name, the fact, because I know I've done this with some things that I don't normally do, is people working from home have maybe taken more time to look into their finances and where they could do better and get better coverage. And I'm sure that helped you.
Yeah, it's so true with that. There's people that are struggling. One of the areas they're going to look is where they can cut the corner here or there to save a few bucks. And I think more times than not in that review process, we're recommending things that are going to actually save them money instead of costing them money. And then in that letter, the email to them will say, if you feel this was a benefit, please tell some friends, relatives, neighbors. And that's where the incoming calls come into it. I think that people do like that, and they realize it's personal to them, their policies. And so it wasn't just a form letter, Also, I think, and you're in that world. I think the more you show the community you love them, the more they love you back.
No doubt.
Yeah.
So
well, that's something you've done for years, and that's something. And again, you weren't a one-time Charlie or all. It's Susie come lately. You've been doing that for a long time, and that was another thing I was going to get to. First of all, one of the smartest things you quote unquote insurance companies did was refunding some money back.
Yeah.
Very smart, because I mean, even from a PR standpoint, it was a smart thing to do. And I know your company did it, and I know a lot of others followed suit as well. And it was one of those things. I mean, there were so many things during this, and even to this day, that didn't make really a lot of sense. But to me, Kevin, that just made a lot of sense.
Well, if you think about it, Edgy, that old hold my beer thing. Yep. State Farm is $115 billion company, right? And they're full of very intelligent people. If you think back on that, which maybe you didn't pay attention, but I did, the one major competitor came out with like a $500 million thing, and they got all the headlines, and it was like, wow, 500 million. And I told the girls, I said, you wait, they're going to wait until the next one and the next one and the next one. And after all the big dogs did theirs that got up to like $1 billion, about a week later, State Farm dropped the bomb on $2 billion. Yeah. $2 billion.
Sure.
And then they followed it up in July with a 13% rate decrease. So
let the others set the market, and then you come in and beat them.
And I knew it was going to happen, but I never thought the next one, the highest us, was $1 billion, which $1 billion is a lot of money. I didn't think we'd double down on that for $2 billion. So, yeah. And then of course you take advantage of that. You just try to say, look, we said we care, and now we're showing you we care.
Yeah, no doubt. Before we get into your different programs that, as I mentioned, you've been doing for a long time, and sports. I mean, you're a big sports guy just like us. I mean, how much did you miss sports? And I know just from a high school football side, this year killed you because it killed us.
Yeah.
I know it killed you, but
Yeah.
just overall, you take sports out of your landscape. What was that like?
Yeah, the high school part, and I think the three of us enjoyed that visit to the high school every Tuesday or Wednesday. That was big because you got to see the other side of the coach. You got to see the way they prepared, the quality of the kids in the program, and it just was. I love that day. I love that Tuesday. I love that Wednesday, and I still have relationships with a lot of the coaches. We'll still text or Facebook message and stuff like that. So I miss that as much as a game. Remember, I would go every Friday. I picked the best game and I'd go to the game.
Yep.
But I love that Tuesday, Wednesday. So from the high school end, you kind of got numb after a while, like you and Joe and Dewey. That Friday after Thanksgiving, it's like, man, we should be down there.
It's funny. And Dewey, we talked about this the last show. That is when it really hit me. Was that weekend? It really, really took hold. Yeah. I think I tried to block it out leading up to that. I mean, week one hit everybody, I think, just from the timing saying, yeah, we should be kickoff. But that weekend, that Friday morning, it hit me like a ton of lead because it's just part of our DNA as high school football fans. It's like, hey, this is the start of the big weekend. And
I was in the strip. Everyone that knows the office knows the famous Cooper or Shortkey that I take for a couple walks a day. And I'm walking, and Coach Lokank was pulling in the parking lot and rolls down the window. And I said, Coach, this would be probably like week 8, just throwing it out there. And he's like, no, this would have been the quarterfinals. I was like, wow. I mean, that's how in tune those guys were.
Yeah, no doubt. As far as, let's get into the sports side of it a little bit. Dewey, as we talked about, let's what I sent you earlier today. I wrote an editorial early in the week. I wrote it Monday. It was on the premium side, and then I kicked it over to the free side yesterday, I think. So basically, you can go find this on the website. You can find it on the free board or on the pay board, either way. I'll put it in story form tomorrow as well. So basically, I approached the subject of, are we going to have spring football and should we move on? And, again, got a lot of reaction to what I wrote. I think it surprised some people because I guess it was considered a negative approach or I wasn't being positive. I was being pretty honest, I thought. And the reason I did that was because, as you guys know, I talk to kids every day. I talk to coaches every day. Everyone I've talked to, it's been the same feedback from them as well. There's nothing going on. We have no schedules yet. We have no really any indication of a postseason, what's going to happen. We have as much info now than we had in August, early August. And we're now, I think it was 53 days, Dewey, until we're supposed to start the first day of practice. And then I did some math. If you take out the holiday break, we're under 40 days before we're supposed to have a first day of practice on February 15th. Dewey, you read that. I mean, was I over the top? Was it too alarmist? I mean, I would love to know your thoughts on that.
I think you painted the picture that needs to be painted. A lot of good details in there. It's not what you want. It's not what any of us want. I'll equate it to this. So Joliet Junior College made an announcement earlier this week that happened last week that the N4C conference has decided no winter sports. So this is kind of like the high school thing where they were kicking the can down the road in the fall. They had the workout days, then they had to stop, and they were going to get going in January, quote unquote. Well, there's some JUCOs that might, but the N4C, which is Joliet, DuPage, so on and so forth, have decided that's it until baseball. So when I read what you sent me about your points and Nothing's officially happened since the summer from an IHSA standpoint, announcement-wise, and the whole trickle-down effect. I unfortunately see this going down the same road that JUCO did.
Yeah, I did too. And Jerry 1154 posts the question, very simple: do you see them playing this spring? As of right now, Jerry, I don't. I kind of lay out my reasons why I don't see it happening in the post. So by all means, go on my free board and take a look at that. Well, we're going to get into. I had a coach friend of mine submit a plan, which I don't want to give too many details because I'm going to roll more out on it next week. The thought that he has regarding his plan is interesting, and it's a way to maybe not get a full season in, but certainly get some football work in. So I'll get into that a little bit. So I'm not certainly giving up, but as Dewey, as we said, I think we're just being honest and saying, guys, look, we're less than 40 days and we have nothing. There's nothing coming out of the IHA. The coaches had met, they had talked, there were some plans, but nothing since then. And it's just been dead. And I think rightfully so, because again, we're waiting for the governor's office. That's what we're waiting for. Like it or not, that is what's holding this up. And until that changes, guys, I don't feel real good about a February 15th start. I'll put it to you that way.
Edgy, how many states didn't have a high school football season?
Well, Midwest-wise, we're the only one. So everyone around us played. Everyone got full seasons in. There were some delays here and there. There were some cancellations. But, Kevin, overall, it was a successful fall. The ones that didn't play were, obviously California, I believe, is playing in December. But again, California is different because it's split up into different associations and stuff. So they're a little bit of a different deal. It's more East Coast and us. I know Virginia is planning on playing in the spring. And here's another interesting factoid. There are other states, especially some out east, that have been inquiring about the availability of some of the better players in the state of Illinois.
I was gonna go there. How much of an effect did it have on your 5 4s and 3 stars that are seniors right now?
Well, the top quarterback in the Midwest and one of the top in the nation, JJ McCarthy from Nazareth, finished his career at IMG Academy in Florida.
Yeah.
And there were several kids. And again, I wouldn't say it was overwhelming numbers, because let's face it, financially you're limited to what, people just can't pick up and move. But the families that had the means of doing it certainly did it. And I think, unfortunately, that's going to continue. And I'm already hearing of some higher level talents. These are underclassmen, 2022s and 23s, that have been contacted by alumni from some of these out-of-state schools saying, hey, we're playing this spring. If you're interested, we'd love to have your son move out here and play for us in the spring. So even that's going to continue. Dewey, I know you got some more thoughts on this.
Different sport in our area, basketball, we lost Jeremy Fears Jr.
Yeah.
To Indiana because he wanted to play. So he's a high level that would have been in the area.
Yeah.
It's a sad situation. We had Coach Jaworski, Coach Molloy on last week, and the points all of us talked about, Kevin, you look at smaller schools, and Edge brings this up in his thing. What are you going to do, a Wilmington or farther south, the smaller schools where you have one gym? It's not like this is going on in the spring or the fall. You're in the dead of winter, and gym time's at a premium. Another point to talk about is in the summer, with baseball, they have a heat temperature. You can only do stuff till that much. Well, would they have to put a freezing temperature in? Because we all know, even at times when we do the baseball tournament in late March, it's dicey at best.
Yes. Yeah. That I just feel for maybe the juniors as well, right? Edgy, you got your sophomores and juniors that depend on, especially the juniors, and I'm sure in basketball as well, they depend on that exposure that they're getting sophomore year, junior year. If they're that strong, they're probably starting. And if colleges could recruit in 40 other states, there's going to be a lot of great athletes left behind.
Yeah, it's already happened with the seniors. It's continuing to happen with the seniors. And the other part of this too, Kevin, you mentioned recruiting, what a lot of people forget about. The NCAA is kind of a mess because they decided to grant all the seniors another year of eligibility. So now you have what they're terming a super senior, a kid that should have graduated this fall or this spring. He has another year of eligibility. So now these college programs are trying to manage, okay, what seniors are staying, what seniors are going, how many scholarships am I going to have left? So that's going to impact not just the incoming class, this class, it's going to impact the next couple of classes coming up. So
that's right. Didn't even think about the extra year.
So the fallout from this is going to continue for a while. And yeah, it's ugly. I mean, it is just ugly. I've and I know we were talking about this and got a lot of traction on my message board. Every year I've hosted a senior showcase, which is basically all the young committed kids that are still looking for a home to play. I would have a camp. We'd put a camp together. We would have all those kids would come out and we'd host it. And we get a lot of schools, and a lot of those kids were able to get a lot more college interest, and there's a lot of scholarship money that ended up coming out of that event. And we love doing it just for that reason, to try to match those kids up. We couldn't even do that this year because of the combination of now the FCS level. So the Illinois States, the Easterns, the Westerns, they're playing in the spring. NAIA, Dewey, St. Francis, St. Xavier, they're playing like in February. I think Super Bowl weekend is their opening weekend, believe it or not. They're playing, that weekend is their first weekend of the season. So that level is playing games. So they're not going to be able to really recruit. A lot of the D3 schools, some of them are playing in the spring. Most of them are not playing in the spring. So it's just an absolute mess from a recruiting standpoint. The NCAA has been on a lockdown, a dead period going back to March. So, Kevin, even if you were a high recruit, you could not make an official visit. You could not go step foot on a college campus to talk to the coaches, to see what they have to offer. You can't go in a facility. You can't look around. So you've got all these kids that have already signed letters of intent. In a lot of cases, committed, never have yet to step foot on a campus.
Like the young man from is it Joliet West Beast, the running back, he committed, I think, to Indiana, maybe.
Correct.
And then Bucky, the running back from Hillcrest, he committed to maybe Minnesota. I'm not positive on Minnesota, but he was a beast. So those that were men against boys, they were able to sign a letter, but they're not allowed on campus.
Yes.
Okay. Wow.
Well, welcome to the weirdness of COVID. It's been absolutely crazy, and I don't see it getting any better anytime soon. It's supposed to get lifted in April. We'll see, but that just gives you an idea of some of the weirdness.
Dewey, you'd get a kick out of this one. We're at Joliet West, and those young man's name Howell or
Trenton Howland.
Howland, and so. He was telling Edgy, now the guy just had like a 600-yard game with 7 touchdowns, and he's telling Edgy how he wants to be a basketball player, and Edgy's like, stay in your lane, young man. You're going to be okay.
He's a good – Dewey will tell you, though, Trent's a pretty good basketball player.
Well, I think he did well enough with IU, right? So,
but again, you talk about kids and teams. I mean, Dewey, you know this. Joliet West was primed to have a big year. I mean, they were already on a deep run, and they had their season suspended last year. And Dewey, everything I had heard, they were supposed to be stacked again this year.
They would have been really good. And you know how we talked about a little earlier Thanksgiving weekend, I'm starting to get the jitters because normally next Monday morning I'm driving to Pontiac for 3 days for the basketball tournament. That won't happen.
And that's the real impact too with hoops, because as you mentioned, I mean, Pontiac and Proviso and York and God, who are some others? There's a bunch of others. The Big Dipper. You've got these tournaments that have been going on for decades and decades and decades. And I mean, like Pontiac has gone on just forever and ever in tradition. Some of those have played through wars and didn't stop. And now because of this thing, it's all off the table.
Yeah, and I know Superintendent Tingley, I know for a fact, was gearing up for not this year, but next year to pull out the stops and throw a bunch of buckets full of money at starting a holiday tournament at Lincolnwood.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did see that. Yeah, that they want to get into that, and they had a decent tournament. I just think from a because I've gone out there, believe it or not, for a few games. I just think from it's hard. You know this as well as anyone. It's hard to pull those teams away from those traditional tournaments every year, and I think a lot has to do with it with just the teams that are actually in it. I mean, good teams will draw better teams into your tournament if you have.
Yeah, and the merchandise you get.
Yeah, I mean it's just that appeal. They want to play against great teams.
Yeah.
Well, Pontiac's different than any of them only because it's the one that draws from all over the state.
Yeah.
Where the other one's just from region or local or this or that.
Yep.
I think about Joliet West, and I can pretty much sit here and tell you Pontiac seeds the top 4 teams every year. So it probably would have been somewhere in the 4, Simeon, Curry, and Joliet West, 3 of the top 4.
Wow.
Yeah. So again, it's impacting everything. Now, beginning of the show, we talked about there's another lawsuit filed. Michael Bryan had the story today. 4 parents have filed lawsuit against IHSA and Governor Pritzker. In short, a violation of rights. Saying, and again, I'm going off of Michael Bryan's story in the Sun Times, so by all means, and give credit, Dewey, and I'm sure you'll agree to OB. OB's been all over this, so Mike's done a really good job of covering a lot of the legal side of this. I give him credit for sure. We've seen lawsuits already, Dewey, in this, and they really haven't gone anywhere. Again, I never realized that when I got into covering high school football. Number one, I would need to have a law degree. Number two, I'd need to have a medical degree. It's just kind of come with the territory. I actually, OB and I talked about that and laughed about it. But I don't know, Dewey. This thing has been thrown around in court a couple of different times. Different states have tried to challenge it. The only way these things have gotten resolved is either one, the state association decided on their own to go against the governor's wishes and they were able to pull it off, or an executive order from the governor saying, hey, go ahead and play. I don't see either one happening right now.
I don't. I mean, the one sad part about this is you talk about the one mother whose son took his life and she feels it had something to do with this. And that tugs at you more than most.
Yep.
The one thing I can tell you is, for my work, I have the West Coast. So we were given a glimmer of light. So I sell waffles and we do hotels, restaurants. And right now we're dying because of the hotels. Well, one of my reps called me last week and said, hey, San Diego, they put a motion in place. Judge said everybody can open back up. Well, the next day it went back to court. Everybody's got to shut down.
Shut back down. Yep.
So no judge wants to. My summary to this is they don't want to put their name as the one who did something like this.
Well, Mr. Insurance Agent, here's another big reason why this isn't happening right now. And my understanding is probably one of the largest reasons, liability. The amount of liability on schools and everyone involved in it. My understanding is one of the biggest reasons is the fact that a lot of these schools just will not be insured from a liability standpoint if they fire up until there's some type of resolution to all of this. And I just don't see it happening. Does that kind of ring familiar at all to you?
To me, and this can go in any business endeavor. Athletes have to sign waivers, right? They have to sign a waiver if you get hurt and it's any type of permanency, there's hold harmless and whatnot, and thinking that the normal parent would think, well, we signed a hold harmless agreement, we're off the hook. When I was involved in a different time of my life, you don't know how many times within a school district, how many times you were settling out of court major league settlements with injuries that occurred to where they were able to find 1% of what the school did wrong. So, yeah, you sign the waivers, but if you've got a great attorney, they're going to chew that up and spit it out. We bankrupt the entire district.
Yeah, it's funny you mention that, because I've heard the same thing from lawyers saying, look, there's not a waiver out there that I wouldn't challenge.
Yeah.
And that's just the way of life. And again, I've heard talk about the fact that Illinois doesn't have a tort reform on the books. Also another big factor, because obviously the liability cost is much more, because you don't have the liability limits in place, or if they are in place, they're considerably higher. So see all the things I learned, Kevin?
Yeah, you are all over that. Now, it wasn't there something I didn't have the opportunity to put my full attention. Plus, again, that 60. I mean, let's be honest. I don't have a full attention.
Yeah.
But wasn't there something that the governor sort of stepped away, and the IHSA said we're going to play, or the governor said don't, and the IHSA said we're gonna? But then the conferences decided, or no?
Well, there was a little back and forth, and the IHSA tried to step up and take the reins back a little bit. But I mean, bottom line is what it came down to, Kevin. They meaning the IHSA, they still have to take their lead from the Illinois Department of Public Health. And if you want to tie it all together, it's political appointees on the Illinois Department of Public Health, and so someone's making the call, and the guidelines have just not been lowered. They've actually been raised. Obviously, we're still in tier 3. We've seen the numbers go down. We're under the threshold to lower them, but here we are 2 days before Christmas, and we still are stuck, which I don't know. But
what's strange is you have the youth programs, not the high school football, but the youth football programs. There's one in New Lenox that's only a few years old, but it's a Pop Warner program. And they played, my understanding is they played most of their season in Indiana. Right. And then they won that national championship down in Orlando. So you've had towns moving their young kids to other states.
Oh, I moved my underclassmen camp on Martin Luther King Day is in Crown Point, Indiana.
Yeah.
Same reason.
Yeah. And I don't think we're going to have with things hanging in between 10 and 15%. I don't think things are going to budge from the political end of it.
No. I so I mean, again, Jerry that posted that earlier. I mean, it's a combination of things that are going to have to happen. You're going to have to continue to see the positivity rate keep dropping. And I think it's just going to take time before the vaccine really kicks in. And you start seeing the quote unquote average Joe being allowed to finally get vaccinated. And so, I mean, I don't want to get too much into plans, but the plan that my coach friend, Miami Thomas, so I want to give him credit, kind of taking a different approach, obviously understanding we have a very limited time window to do things. He kind of suggested treating this time frame more as a true spring football time frame, where you would be allowed, let's say, 6 weeks of actual practice, say 4.5 weeks of actual pads and hitting and tackling and working on fundamentals. Because let's face it, guys, it's been over a year plus since anyone's put pads on and hit. So in a lot of cases, you have to relearn a lot of stuff. And we're not even talking about underclassmen. We're talking about varsity.
Yeah.
So, taking that concept and then maybe having a couple of games, and again, you call them whatever you want, rivalry game. If Joliet Catholic want to play Providence, fine. Have a game or two that you can go out and play. You can have your senior day. You can have your parents' day. You can have all the stuff that your seniors were going to miss, and even get a couple of games of video games under their belts for the younger guys.
Yeah.
I like the concept. I know coaches are going to hate it because, unfortunately, and this was part of what I wrote about, coaches still want a 9-game regular season and a 5-game postseason. I'm sorry. The way things have gone, guys, that is not going to happen. If you could get 5-6 weeks of football in, I think you take that and then be ready to go, as I mentioned, in the summer. So.
And then, Dewey, will that be similar with basketball, or there will just be no basketball till next fall?
They really haven't said anything. I'm not a fan of that plan. My thoughts are, at one point, I know what was hurled around is 5-week regular season. Everybody's in the playoffs, 5 weeks. That's me.
Yeah,
But here's the one thing, Edge. And we talked about this. I just don't see how any of this happens until the kids are all back in the building.
and
I
that's
don't
what
know how you
we
can.
said a week ago, and I agree. I mean, everyone's still on Zoom taking classes. Dewey, your kids are at home taking classes. And I agree. Until these kids are back in school on a regular basis, I don't see any sports happening. Honestly, I mean, okay, like cross country, our guy Jeff DeGraw, that's obviously a very social distance friendly sport. Outside of that, I don't see anything else going on until those kids are
Edgy, could you picture a 12-year-old Kevin trying to e-learn?
no. I see a 12-year-old Kevin trying to figure out how to legally gamble online. Or setting up your own business. I could see 12-year-old.
I wasn't running parlay cards till junior year, sir.
Yeah. Well, Rita. So
yeah. We were rolling dice. We were rolling dice. But I didn't start the parlay cards till junior year.
Oh, we just stop it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Dewey, he thinks I'm kidding.
by the way, here's a comment for you, buddy. Thoughts on St. Rita football and their very talented squad? Kevin, fire away, buddy.
Man, I'll tell you what, they truly year in and year out, they've got a couple of games that are going to challenge it, and Providence always gives them the run for the money every year, no matter if they're up or down. Mount Carmel, talk about rivalries, there's a lot there, but year in and year out, you're going to get your 7-2s, your 8-1s, and gosh, I don't know what would happen if there was ever a 6-3. I think holy heck would break.
Oh, there's been a few now.
A few.
You just forget them. That's
in my era. That's the thing I say, that we don't even get to go to the class reunion, because when they say, "Oh, you were class of '75," we have to look away. We were like that black sheep. We were, yeah, that was us.
By the way, Jimmy, made it to the state title game last year in 5A. A lot coming back. I mean, Caleb Brown, you just start with him and work your way on, and had a chance to see a lot of those kids this offseason. And yeah, Jimmy, you were going to have a very good team coming back. And that's the shame of all this, because Dewey, your JCA team was supposed to be very good this year. Lincoln Way is always stacked again. A lot of good teams. Bolingbrook, John talked about this group coming back for Bolingbrook this year and how good this team could have been. Now, a couple of them are already in college. Literally, they're going to start college in January. So that kind of got destroyed. But yeah,
I'll tell you, of all those teams, I think JCA was probably trying to make a deeper. There's so much talent there, so much. That running back that was a sophomore, my gosh, remember at the award ceremony, that's the first time I met this man in person, and he has to be 6'2", 220 as a sophomore.
Yeah, no, I agree. And Jerry chiming in, Glenbard North was going to be good. Yes, they were. They were definitely going to be good. But again, we'll see. I hope we get a chance to at least see some of this football. Let's move on a little bit from high school. Dewey, College Bowl season is upon us. I don't know how you personally feel about it. I honestly would go watch Kevin Molloy play someone on TV. If it was on, I'd watch it. I mean, that's just kind of how I am in bowl season. I don't care who it is. If I got nothing going on and I flip the TV on, I'm watching that bowl game. I mean, your thoughts with the COVID bowl season, and was I the only one that was just thought it was crazy that Army didn't get an invite initially?
Oh, that was sad.
They should have. I watch. I like Notre Dame. Obviously, they are where they deserve to be. I think at this point, you look at the top four.
I'm with you, Dewey.
Well, it's probably going to be Alabama, Clemson.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding about because I thought
Dewey and I could kind of double team you on that. We could put in Texas A&M. We lost by 28 to Alabama and only had one other.
Be careful there, big fellow. You're comparing scores. It's all
be very careful. 28. But I know a friend of mine that when he saw Clemson minus 7.5, that jumped on that pretty good, and then that same friend saw the 19.5 with Alabama and jumped on that as well. And they even projected out further. That same friend jumped on Clemson plus 3.5 in the championship game. So he was projecting into the future, this friend of mine. So,
okay.
But I'm with you, Edgy. If the game's on, there's so many games that you watch, especially Mid-America Conference games. How much fun is that?
Yeah.
There's 100 points getting scored.
Well, and just to try to relate it in NCAA March Madness terms, I mean, I love the underdog. I love the fact that, the quarter, and Dewey, you know this as well as anyone, I'm a mid-major guy. I follow those mid-majors come tournament time, and I'll call Dewey and say, hey, watch out for this one, watch out for that one. And I just think the football side, and from what I hear, it's going to happen. The contract's up after this year. They're going to expand to 8 teams. I think it's just a natural. That way you lock in your Power 5 schools, and then you've got a couple of invites you can play with. A team like Cincinnati, I think, their resume isn't quite what the other Power 5s are, but you know what? They're undefeated. They've had a great run. Make them a 7 or an 8 seed and see what they can do. Give the little guy, the year where NIU had a great year. Maybe they're worthy, maybe not, but I think you find a way, guys, to include them. And honestly, I'd be shocked if that doesn't happen. Yeah,
now they're getting their opportunity. Cincinnati against Texas A&M, I think. Is that who they're playing?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Texas A&M, Cincinnati. Yep, I know. Army took whose bowl bid was
West Virginia. They're playing
West Virginia.
Tennessee.
Yeah,
Tennessee
had a bid. I mean, come on, really? So, but Army got in. But yeah, that's what I would like to see happen.
Now, Dewey, how did you like OHalloran's self-imposed sanctions on himself this year and declined to accept a bowl bid? That was pretty nice of him with a 4-5 record that he self-imposed. He's still going to get in trouble, but he's self-imposed. We're gonna penalize ourselves and not go to a bowl game. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and again, it's a bowl game where you're basically going to sit in your hotel room, go play a game in front of no fans or limited fans, and go home. So
hey, let me disappoint Mad Dog. Clemson by 10-12.
Okay. I don't know about that. I think Ohio State has the horses that can hang with them. Yeah. I don't know if this is the group that can hang for 4 quarters. Ohio State's defense concerns me a bit.
Yeah.
But
the running back special. Very special.
Yeah. Mad Dog, I would tend to agree with the handsome guy at the bottom of the screen, but not quite as on board as he is. But I'd go with Clemson. Let's quickly. University of Illinois, Dewey hires a new coach. Brett Bielema comes on board. Had a good run at Wisconsin. Had a not so good run at Arkansas. One of the first things out of his mouth was taking back recruiting and in-state recruiting and getting involved. And I think any Illini fans got to be happy to hear that.
You have to be happy. The big question with the Illini fan base is, are they going to get this coach who was at Wisconsin, or are they going to get the one that was in the SEC? So,
it's and again, and obviously I know people down that way because we have publishers that cover Arkansas. And, I just think it was very hard for him really from the get-go because let's face it, if you're in the SEC, you generally have a twang. Yeah. You come from up north and you're trying to recruit kids from down south. It is not easy to do. And I think that worked against him a little bit. But he knows Illinois. Obviously, he's from Prophetstown, knows the state. He recruited really well when he was at Wisconsin. When he was there, he had a good staff. I think right now for Illinois, that's about all you really can ask for.
It may take 2 or 3 recruiting classes before the kids buy in as well, right? The other part of that SEC recruiting, Edgy, is you're not only fighting that northern reputation, but you're getting what's left after Clemson, after Florida, after Georgia, after Alabama, after LSU. You're getting what's left, you know.
Yeah.
So
what I like to about Bielema is you know who he is and what he does.
Yeah.
I mean, they're gonna be like Wisconsin offensively. They're gonna want to run the ball. He's gonna have a really good offensive line. Probably run the ball 75% of the time with some play action passing and play really good defense. And there's nothing wrong with being that team. It works for Wisconsin. It works for some others as well. And I think it's good. I don't think Illinois really had a whole lot of an identity. And the identity they did have was everyone just, well, it's Lovie Smith and kind of a pro system. And,
well, you have to give guys like Nicky Allegretti. He went out on a limb.
right.
He had the offers from Stanford that churn out offensive linemen, and Nicky stayed home. And you're going to have to get a bunch of Nickies to stay
And
home.
he bought in. I mean, you know, as you mentioned, it was not a great thing to get into at the time, but there's a kid that made the most of it, took his opportunity, and look at him now. He's got a Super Bowl ring and he's playing in the NFL. So,
Starting now.
Yeah.
So
yeah, great story for sure. We got about 14 minutes left. Toy drive, you're done?
yeah, it very, very, very pleased with the support community-wise, over 350 toys. I mean, including some pretty cool stuff I would have wanted to open up and play with in the office. We had drones and skateboards. I mean, a lot of people really were generous. And I think that's also part of this pandemic. A lot of people felt blessed that they were in the position they were to give back. You know, the Adopt a Turkey Thanksgiving food drive. We put 45 families with A to Z turkey Thanksgiving dinner with all the stuffings. You follow that up with 50 homes that you're able to fill up with toys. So it's a blessing to be in a community like the Lincoln Way community that has big hearts. They have gigantic hearts. So we'll take a couple, well, maybe 6 weeks off, and the next thing we have is going to be the blood drive. That'll be our next event. So Snow Angels start whenever we get 2 inches of snow. So I already got
that. People don't understand sometimes that concept.
we got 40 kids/families. We load them all up with like a good neighbor hoodie. So there might be a name or two on the back of that hoodie. So we line up 45 kids/families, and we assign each family 3 driveways of senior citizens, single moms, disabled people. And anytime there's 2 inches of snow or more, they're assigned to those 3 houses. They go out, get after it, and at the end of the year, we slap a pizza party together and a gift card, and the rest is all community service hours for their schools. So
Fantastic.
I think we have 130 homes with about 45 families that shovel.
That's great. That's phenomenal. How long has that program gone on now?
This, I think this is year number 4. And kids graduate, go on to college. And then you hope that there's some 7th, 8th grade kids with families that hop back on to replace that group. But there's a young man from Lincoln Way West. He's instantly my favorite. There's a section of the area that's out in the country, if you would, kind of schoolhouse baker area. And he's a wrestler at Lincoln Way West. So that should tell you something about a little bit of craziness. These families have long driveways because they're out in nowhere.
They're out in the middle of nowhere, right?
So I asked him, since he had a car, if he could kind of take care of these two homes, and then explain they're 20 feet wide by 150 feet, and a lot of work. And he said, well, if you got 2 or 3 more, I mean, this kid was like, what do we got? And I was thinking, man, sometimes it's 0 degrees out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, some of these ideas I'll think of, but fairness, some of these ideas the team thinks of. I'll say, what do you think? That micro pantry outside the office, that's Michelle Kerfin's idea. Michelle came up with that.
I have to come see you soon because I heard you have a new tenant that moved in recently.
Raffy's Candy. Yeah.
Look at Dewey. Dewey perked up.
Yeah. Very nice.
I'm on that road on a regular basis.
Yeah, they're very nice. Their first day in business, they brought a Christmas tray of assorted candies, which was smart on their part. Candy store, right? Yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean, and they just went to every office. I went by there today. I bought a few gift cards today, so I bought some from Dave and then some from Raffy's. Truly, I kind of like it. First of all, they're good people. Second part, Dewey, there's a lot of foot traffic now, right? Yeah. So more people coming through there that might see other businesses. So.
Yeah, no doubt. No, that's phenomenal. I'm definitely going to have to stop by. By the way, didn't want to ignore this. Our guy, Jeff DeGraw.
There he is.
Who's always followed us and everything we have. Jeff always shows up. We always appreciate him very much. National champion coach, Jeff DeGraw. You need to get that under his Twitter profile.
Jeff might. I don't know if Jeff can hear us as well, but
he's watching.
There was a saying one of my clients, and I liked it. It's corny, but I like it. It said, "Stay positive, test negative," and I thought,
there we go.
Very cool.
There you go. But Jeff, thank you. Merry Christmas to you and your family, and it's going to be the weirdest holiday ever, just like Thanksgiving was the weirdest Thanksgiving ever. But
hey, are we going to have a chance to talk about Dewey? How old's your son that is playing travel ball?
Well, Daniel's 10, no travel. Okay. Got done with baseball. We had a regular season. Yeah, I'm evaluating. We did indoor flag at Roma out in Frankfurt. They canceled that. We might play. But what I have him lined up next is with Coach Rod's buddy, John Sabatino.
Yeah, John's
right over there. He's going to start a 20-week program with him January 2nd leading into baseball.
Edgy, my question at 10, is Daniel too young to teach the mindset of kind of owning that plate and knowing how to brush them back, move them back at 10? I'd say yes.
Dewey, I'll leave that to you. You're the dad.
I say at 10, you own the corners. Go on, move away.
I'll tell you what. He's an athlete, and he's something else. He's got a shot to be pretty good in baseball.
I'll be honest. I'm very fortunate. I think we're all very fortunate that Dewey's son Daniel got very little athletic ability from Dewey because he is a very, very good young athlete. Dewey, I love you. I'm just kidding.
I know.
Daniel's a very good baseball player. I had a chance to see him a couple times now.
Dewey, can I have him for a half hour before a game? Maybe talk to him a little bit. Just maybe a couple tips. I won't scar him or anything. I just want to maybe talk about maybe moving around on the mound a little bit.
You better watch out. You're going to have a $500,000 life insurance policy on you, Dewey, before he ends with that talk.
Anytime, Kevin.
Yeah.
Let me hop around real quick. I got some things here.
Sure.
And I'll let you guys comment. I'm going to throw them at you. One is, I got a prediction. What did I have? Okay. So Coach Underwood down in Illinois, he needs to get what Coach John Jones taught Billy Donovan. And it's called free throws make 3. So what John Jones free throws make 3, and it's a true story. John went down, legendary Lamont coach with him at Joliet.
Yep.
He went down to Donovan when he was at Florida. So free throws make 3 is you put all the kids in a basket, 2 kids at each basket, 5 minutes on the clock, Kevin. Every time you make 3 in a row, you shout your initials out. And John always said, if you want to be a Division I player, you're going to make at least 9 to 11 sets of 3 in 5 minutes.
Wow.
Billy Donovan runs this now. Coach Underwood, we could talk about that next week. Their defense and free throws is terrible. But my two other points on this is the Bulls will knock on the playoff door under Donovan this year, and the Green Bay Packers will go to the Super Bowl.
I agree with both of those, but my question to you on the Bulls, how long until they can make a deep run?
Well, I'll take that. I think they're still a high draft pick or two away. But Dewey, I'm not gonna lie, I watched the little Bulls preseason. I like some things I've seen out of the Bulls. There's some young talent there.
Well, Donovan's won wherever he's went, and he's the guy to ride the ship with White, and he'll get marketing going, and you just see a whole different vibe with them.
So. And again, I don't disagree about Green Bay, but are we at least okay that the Bears have given us reason to watch them for 2 more weeks? That's kind of how I'm looking at this right now.
Watch them. I mean, we'll watch them every week.
But they give us reason. I mean, honestly, in this era, Kevin, if I got something going on, I'll DVR it and go back and watch later.
Yeah.
But I'm going to watch the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, sure. I think the fact that they're putting up 30 points a game is intriguing, and I don't want to dismiss what Trubisky is doing. I just agree with a lot of what you hear. They're not going to pay him $10 million a year. That's just not going to happen. You might get somebody available because it's getting really ugly really quick in Philadelphia. You might have to give up a 3 to get maybe Carson Wentz. So they might go that direction if they get Philadelphia to eat part of that contract.
But he's just getting someone else's problems now.
Well, I think his issue, we know his issue isn't the talent around him because Jalen Hurts kind of destroying that. But I think he might. Maybe there's something that maybe a sports psychologist can help him with. But do we get one step further on that as a Bear fan?
4 minutes to go, gentlemen. 4 minutes.
I watch a lot of football every Sunday or heck, whenever they're playing. I truly think, and this is hard to say as a Bear fan, but I think Green Bay, no matter who they play, and that includes Kansas City, I think Green Bay could win the whole thing.
Yeah. All right, well, here's the Bear thing. Obviously, Jacksonville's not going to win no matter what because they hold the #1 draft pick.
Don't blow this. Don't be the Jets.
Mark Sunday down. And then the Pack, if you're a Bear fan, you want them to beat Tennessee so that they don't have to win the game against the Bears. And then Arizona's got to lose to either Frisco or LA.
Arizona's got to lose.
Right.
Otherwise, none of this does anything for the Bears.
But the Bears have the tiebreaker.
Do they? Okay.
Think about 3 weeks ago with that Hail Mary that Arizona pulled off. What if that fell to the ground? The Bears would be in the playoffs right now.
Yeah. They shouldn't have lost 5 games in a row, though.
Yeah. No.
Rodgers, real quick, guys. He's as dialed in as he's ever been. I'm not a Packer fan, but I just see this train, and he's getting near the end, and he's been precision beyond belief. And if they get the home field, good luck going there.
And the running back, Jones is dialed in. They've got a great kicker. They got a great punter. That could be it.
Does Nagy and the GM make it after this year? Yes or no?
They say Nagy, yes. GM, no.
I agree. I think Nagy gets one more shot.
I hate to say this, but if they make the playoffs, history says they both survive.
Both of them. Okay.
I remember Lovie Smith got fired with 10 wins.
Yeah.
So there's your history for you. I guess never say never. Quickly, holiday plans, Dewey? Small? What are you doing?
Small, heading north, a little getaway with the kiddos. So
there you go.
Take
Wisconsin?
a break. Yeah.
You do that quite a bit, don't you?
Yeah, get up there, check it out.
Kids. Yeah. Like Kalahari?
No, Lake or Silver or Lake Delavan.
Okay. Kevin, plan?
Very small. Thursday night, tomorrow night. My youngest Casey and her husband, and I think maybe Friday if Dewey would leave Daniel home, I'll bring him over to John and we'll work on a couple of things.
Nice. Very small here. Like I said, just my son's coming home, which is cool.
Good.
I haven't seen him in a while, so it's going to be kind of Chinese food tomorrow, probably heavy drinking, watching a movie or two. So just kind of a small family holiday, but
What does an edgy watch Christmas movie? Are you an elf guy or?
you know what they want to watch? And again, I don't think we can watch it till Christmas Day, but they want to see the new Wonder Woman movie.
Yeah.
It's coming out. I don't think it comes out till Christmas Day, but that's what they want to watch because, well, that's what they're into.
Who does she play for?
Any team she wants, Kevin.
All right.
We're going to let you go. Kevin, Merry Christmas. Dewey, Merry Christmas. Thanks to everyone that watched. And Kevin, who knows, it might even have you back sometime, but
Well,
taking time.
you
And,
know what that means, Dewey? If Satan's not available, I got a chance.
There you go.
bye, Joe. Wish you were with us. See you, everybody.